Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here. Think Tech Talks on a given, Tuesday, with Gabe Yanagihara, who is from Iolani School. And we're talking about the Media Lab at Sullivan Center, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Hi,
Yeah.
say hello.
Hi, so my name is Gabriel. I teach the video game programming, intro video game programming courses there. So I'm excited to see what we can chat about today.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So let me ask you, first of all, you're doing Media Lab, meaning what?
Yes.
What is that?
So the main thing that I work on, so in my course, the 7th, 8th grade course, where I give them kind of like get their toes wet, feel out what programming is like in the process of making their own video games. So that would be my side of it. So mine's kind of like using free tools, using Scratch, using open source image editing software to kind of get them up and running for making their own games.
Excuse me, I gotta
Yeah,
take
go
this
for it.
because it's reflecting the light, okay?
Yep,
Okay,
all
I'm gonna
good.
put this all over here, okay? High
Yeah.
tech, you know?
Mhm.
Okay, so media games,
Yes.
how did you get involved in games?
Oh, man, I was playing video games since I was a kid. I mean, not as long as, some of the people I look up to, but like, I guess Windows 95 era, Red Alert kind of
95, that's
games.
a
So
long time
that's
ago, yeah.
a little while. I'm still a young one, so I'm
Okay.
still working my way up. Yeah.
Okay, and so, I haven't followed this, but
Uh-huh.
how deeply can you get involved in games? It sounds like you got involved deeply in games.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I grew up on Maui. So for us, gaming was kind of getting all of our computers together for a weekend and then camp out and we play video games together. But now as things change, now with the kids that we have, they can play games anywhere they want to go. And then because it's such a embedded, every kid plays games now, even more kids are getting under the hood of, why does this game work the way it does? And that natural curiosity is kind of what fuels my entire video game program.
Yeah. Is it good for you to play games?
Oh yes, it's very good for you to
Some
play
people
games.
say, some parents say
Yes.
that kids playing games at 3 a.m,
Yeah.
with the covers over them in the bed, is not a good thing. What do you think about
Probably
that?
3 a.m. I would probably say it'd be more productive to be sleeping, but getting a little bit of gaming I think is good for you.
Why? Tell me why.
So for me, I like the interactiveness, and for a lot of the games, so there are different quality games, the way there are different quality movies, the way there are different quality books, but playing good games makes you use your brain a lot. There's a very critical decision-making processes. For Minecraft, which is the one I'm a huge fan of, you learn so many skills just playing Minecraft, from social skills, how to interact, problem solve, conflict management kind of stuff. So there's a ton of, when you really dig it down into it, there's a lot can be learned in video games.
Okay,
Yeah.
you don't mind if I ask you questions
Yeah, go
about
for it.
that? Yeah. Okay, but, it's only a game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's so good about it. It's only a game. Say you're playing, so I teach Minecraft workshops on the weekends.
What's Minecraft?
Huh?
What is it?
So Minecraft is essentially digital Legos, digital building blocks, and it's a whole world full of billions of them, right? So you place a
Is it
block
like
here and you place
Tetris?
it. Kind of. It's Tetris if each of the blocks was made out of a different material kind of thing.
So it's way more complex than Tetris.
It's surprisingly complex what you can get going with Minecraft. Because on the surface is, okay, you just place the blocks here, make yourself a little house. But then, again, one of the skills that they can learn is, well, how do I solve the problem when my neighbor breaks down half my house, right? And what's great when you said, it's not real life, right? So you can learn that lesson in the video game as opposed to,
Beating
out in
them up
Hawaii
and-
Kai, where your neighbor, comes at you with a demolition truck and blows up half your house, and then you got to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to do in this situation, right? So, that's an extreme example, but just the basic conflict stuff is great.
But how do you play out, social psychology in a game?
Uh-huh.
How do you play it out, and how do you learn things by it?
So, so much of learning is just play itself, right? So just being able to, here's this weird thing I have, here's a stick that I got in the backyard, how do I use this, what does it do, what can it be, right?
Yeah.
Video games would be the same way, it's just a newer version of it, right? So Minecraft is a fun way of here, have a stick, go out in the yard, play and figure it out and leave mommy alone for another, So it gives them a chance to kind of explore and figure out and do things on their own.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay. But what about the habituation problem, you know?
Mhm.
It's not necessarily 3 o'clock in the morning under the sheets.
Yeah.
But there is, you will agree with me, there's a
Oh, yeah.
habituation problem.
There's
So
a-
you get gratification out of something,
Mhm.
and you get in tune with it, and you want to do it more and more for
Yeah.
more
Because
gratification.
there is a dark side of gaming. I mean, just like there's a dark side of, you know, sports or anything else, where like you can get to a level where, you know, as a game designer myself, I kind of refuse to do some of these feedback loops in my games because you can set it up so the game gives you a reward every 3 seconds, and then 3 minutes, and then, you know, 30 minutes or so. So then you feel better and better about yourself every 30 seconds or so, but you're not really accomplishing a lot, right? So Minecraft doesn't necessarily have that super intense feedback loop that a lot of the, you say the mobile games are that come out now. But depending, I mean,
So
it's just,
let's talk about that
yeah.
one. So if you gave it to me every seconds?
I mean, like, there's just a number I kind of pulled out of a hat.
Okay.
But just that idea of just doing a constant feedback. So if you're playing a mobile game,
Yeah.
and it kind of pops up with like a, you know, big shiny, you know, like you're level 3 and
Yeah.
all those
Feeling
sparkles and
good,
everything
yeah.
like that. I mean, you feel good about that experience,
yeah.
even though you didn't really accomplish.
But you have
Or
a
solve a
device
problem.
now where the first time it happens, it's a 3-minute iteration. After a while, it's, I don't know.
Oh no, that
10-minute
3 minute, it'll just layers on top. So then you'll get that 3 minute cycle for the next 40 years if you keep playing that game, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, there are different layers.
Well,
to
but
it.
is there a benefit in changing the cycle? And saying, I'm not gonna, you know, 3 minutes is a little too close.
Yeah.
We're gonna do something to his mind that way.
Uh-huh.
Was it Minecraft or Mindcraft?
Minecraft, like with a pick, like just
Okay,
picking,
because I think
picking us
that
up.
there's probably
Yeah.
a double entendre
Minecraft,
there.
that might, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a mod for
Maybe that's where
Minecraft
it
called
came from, who
Minecraft. That
knows?
would be pretty cool.
Okay, so you say you want to, I don't want to give you that much gratification. I want you to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to be, you know, in kind of a high energy desperation mode to get to, I want you to relax a little. So instead of 3 minutes, I give you 3 minutes, then 6 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
then 10 minutes. Would you do that? Is that good?
You would want to layer it with different things. I mean, I would be a little concerned because if your game gives you feedback every 30 minutes, and this game over here gives you back every 3 seconds, I mean,
More gratification at 30
this one's
seconds.
going to win out in a commercial setting. But
Yeah.
like if you're using it as an education tool
Yeah.
and you have control of I mean, if you're a parent controlling what games your kid gets to play with,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not like say for books, right? You're not going to give your fourth grader, you know, romance novels. You're going to give them, you know, stuff that you feel as a parent would be stuff that would be better invigorating for them. So same with video games, right? So I'm not going to give like a 4-year-old Call of Duty. I'm going to give them Minecraft or, I mean, one of many other video games.
So
that
what
are
is a
like that.
healthy game? What is a good game?
Oh.
Describe a good game for me.
A good game is one that gets you up, like gets you thinking about more than just the action itself of playing the game. One of my favorite video games and one that I myself have put the most time in would be EVE Online. EVE Online is an online spaceship and economy simulator, basically. I mean, my friends who play that, if they heard me calling it that, they'd be like, it's so much more complex. But basically, it's just a whole bunch of star systems that you can trade and travel and explore and everything. So there's not a 3-second feedback loop necessarily, but it's the experience of that gaming system is beyond and above just the idea of I'm going to fly around and blow up spaceship. It's human interaction, long-term planning, financing, budgeting, and all these other skills that come into that game. So it's a
All
super
these
complex
things are
game.
in that game?
Yeah, it's a crazy
Okay.
game.
Eve, what is it?
EVE Online.
Eve Online,
Yeah.
okay. So you can learn.
Yeah. Oh,
So
definitely.
if you're going to build a good game, you want to teach somebody something, yeah?
Yeah.
So you're building games.
Yes. So the main focus is giving them the experience of making their first video game, or first 12, or first 100
How old
video
are they
games.
when they have this experience?
4th to 8th grade. Yeah.
Wow, that's
So it's
pretty
a nice,
young.
it's a nice breadth. Like we have an after-school program for the younger students, and then my class is a 7th and 8th grade one, which is an intro one.
Okay, and so the after-school program, is that credit?
No, I do not
But the
believe
one
so.
you, the one
The one
you
I do
teach
is-
during school
yeah.
hours, that's a
Yeah.
real course. And
Mhm.
what is it called again?
Video game design. Yeah.
And it's just one course?
Yep, it's a semester-long course. We're actually expanding it in the coming years.
Okay.
So I get to do the video game one, and then we want them to go into the computer sciences. So it's kind of like, you get your toes wet. Is the programming experience, is the experience of creating an app, going through all the, troubleshooting and everything, is that something that you enjoy, the challenge of programming something? If they enjoy it, awesome.
Okay.
Send them off all the way down the programming track.
Do they
Give them-
create the same game altogether, or each person creates
Oh, we
his
do.
own?
We vary it up a lot. So for the first quarter or so, I kind of have preset projects that kind of just teach the basics, right? So, here's how to move a character across the screen. Here's how to, add comments to your code so that when you swap code programs with someone else, they know what we're talking about, yeah. So that's an intro one. And then from there, it just, whatever you want to work on. So I become a coach rather than like a lecturer or teacher.
They got to go do the research. They got to check out all the functionality.
That's what I like a lot about a lot of the Sullivan Center programs. It's no longer a lecturer-based thing, where it's like I'm the guardian with all the facts and knowledge, and I'm kind of just dispensing them out very slowly to the kids so that it fills the school year. It's more, we get the core skills that you need, and then from there, I kind of take the role of the coach, right? So he's like, oh, I want to make, Five Nights at Freddy's is the super popular game right now. All my kids want to make Five Nights at Freddy's. So of course I had to, go home. I had to go buy it on my iPad. I had to go play through this game. It was okay, but they were super passionate about it. So then we made our own version of that Five Nights at Freddy's. So it's like a, scary jump scare game.
So now let's talk about actually doing it, because I'm interested in the process. So you have this kid in the 4th grade. How old is the kid in the 4th grade?
It's too late in the day for math.
Whatever. Okay, and you're going to say, look, you got an iPad, right? So here's the way on the iPad that you can get a developer's kit, right? Is that what you need?
Well, actually, so for getting their first stint into making a game, I suggest Scratch, which is it's a software developed by MIT at the Media Lab. It's a logic and block-based one. So it's kind of like snapping logical Lego blocks together. Yeah. And then it creates kind of the code that way. So it kind of gets them.
It's drag and drop creating code.
Drag and drop creating code, and it breaks them away from the typing and computer skills that not all kids might have starting off. Yeah. So it gets all the obstacles out of the way, and it says, okay, so here's a problem to solve. Here's a bunch of Lego pieces, just snap them together until it works.
So what is it, just like it's an app?
Yeah.
Scratch is
Mac,
an app.
PC, or Linux, yes.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay, so on my Surface over here.
Yeah, but yeah, you could probably.
I could.
That's Windows, right? Yeah, you'd be able to do that.
Okay, so I just download the Scratch application, and then I can drag and drop and make it do things. Can I look at the code?
Yeah, so right now it doesn't have the swap to the actual code, to the lines of code. Yeah. I'm 90% sure there are third-party tools that will do that for you.
Well, that would be useful for your classes.
Yeah, because
plus my show them what it looks like in the code. Yeah.
Actually, because usually once we get to that main point, everyone's working on their own projects. I've had students they got their games on the iPad. I'm not entirely sure how, because officially, Scratch doesn't work on the iPad. There's like an iPad version, but you can't really make a game with the iPad version. It's kind of like just teaching the basics. Yeah. But somehow they got it working on there.
Okay, well, they're smart kids. They probably teach you a few things.
Which is great, yeah. That's the other thing. I love not being in that lecture role, because I don't have to say, oh, I know all the answers all the time. It's more, okay, well, I've never made Five Nights at Freddy's before. I have kind of a rough idea in my head. I'm going to kind of pretend like I don't know, so that they have to figure it out, and I kind of just guide them along.
I went to MidPac.
Yeah.
And in MidPac, 2 years ago, they gave every kid an iPad. They found a way to fund it, and they gave every kid an iPad. And the teachers, they had iPads too, but the teachers didn't know much about how to operate the iPad. So as it worked out, the kids were teaching the teachers.
That's it.
I thought was really great.
That would be awesome.
After a while, the teachers caught up, but it took a while.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So you do the same thing. These kids are telling you things maybe that you didn't see before, because they're very observant and they're quick, as you say.
Yeah. And it's just a sense of time scale too, because so as I'm getting older, it's funny that I can say that now, I'm getting older.
It's a terrible thing, age.
Yeah, I know. As I get older, I can't keep up with the hundreds of games that are coming out, so I let the students be my filter. They tell me what games are hot right now, which ones they want to learn about, and then I go home, empty out my Steam wallet, buy out all the games, try them out, play them through, and then see what happens. Yeah.
Okay, so here I am with my iPad or my
Surface,
Surface or something, and I download Scratch. And okay, so then I can make a game, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
But that's only the beginning, right?
That's only the beginning.
And you wouldn't spend a whole lot of time with that in your class either.
Oh, well, for that one, we spend the whole time just building up and getting that experience.
Okay.
So by the time they're done with the class, they completely self-directed. They know how to, okay, here's my concept for a game. Here's a rough, diagram of what's going to happen. And I'm going to set my own timeline. So here's a calendar that I've made for the next 2 weeks of what I need to get done every day
That's
to get it done. And then they just go off and
Teaching
do
them
it.
all kinds of stuff about project
Yeah.
management. Yeah.
Because when I first, I altered the program every year, but when I first started it, I kind of ran it like I ran my own company, because I had an animation graphics
Oh,
and
did you? Where, here?
game design program company for a while. And so I just ran it
If
like
you can't
that.
do it, you got to teach it, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was fun. Like, it was a great experience.
Okay, so anyways, we're back to, okay, now the kid shows you, they all
Yes.
show you, they know how to do Scratch,
Mhm.
and that's great. Okay,
Yeah.
now you're going to go to a serious
Yes.
program. You're going to go to a software developer kit of some kind, or a game
They
developer
are
kit.
going to go to Unity. So the reason Scratch is such a powerful tool is even beyond the walls of my classroom, there's an online community with hundreds of thousands of accounts and people all working on games. They post the games online, and then you can see inside the code of every game on there. So it becomes an online community like that. What I like about Unity is, well, one, it's free. So it's all my course is taught with free software, so it can be emulated
Cool,
anywhere
cool.
in the world.
Well, there's a freedom in that.
There's a freedom in that. There's not if the kid wants, when the kid's done with the course, he's like, oh, I want to learn how to do modeling. I can't say, okay, go home and buy Maya, because
it's thousands of
yeah,
dollars.
right. So Blender is everything you need to know for now. You get the concepts modeling in Blender, and then you can take it on. Like I have
get a job, let the boss buy it.
yeah. Well, I mean that's kind of where it ends up. Yeah.
Okay, now you're using
Unity.
this. You're right.
Yes. So my experiences with Unity are a lot less than Scratch. So my experiences with Scratch. But what we're doing now is, so once they finish that Video Game Design 1 course, then we actually hop them over to our other computer programming courses. And those were the ones where historically it'd be Java, AP Java, and then after they do the AP credit, then they have Video Game Design 2 and app development, where they can make their own apps. We have Erin Nagoshi, one of our teachers. She does an amazing job with an app development course.
This is not your course, then?
Not my course.
Your games, she's apps.
Games and apps, yeah.
Well, if you can do both, my God,
Yep,
that's
that's
fabulous.
the plan. So what we want to do is after that one, we're going to have one more that's going to be App Design and Video Game Design 2, which is going to be a combined course. We're still working on it, but that's going to be one where the kids work on real-world projects. So if they're doing a video game with me, we're actually going to publish that video game, whatever it takes. Same thing with the app,
When
right?
publish it, send it up to.
Send it up, put it on the iPad.
See if anybody buys it for money.
Well, no, we're not charging for it.
Okay,
because,
okay.
I mean, educational software and all that stuff.
course.
But it'd be more like just the experience of putting your game out there, and then all of your friends in the school downloading your game, playing it, and then telling you how awful it is.
Gratification there,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so this is only school-wide, it's not
Yeah.
worldwide or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, I need to do a lot more research before I figure that out.
Okay,
That
so is
worldwide
this the
one.
first semester you've been doing this, or no?
No, we've been doing it, I think 2 years now. Yeah.
Okay, so-
And then before that, it was a experimental summer course that we did.
Okay, well, so we can back away from games and
Mhm.
apps for a minute, although I want to come back to that.
Yeah.
Iolani really goes in for this stuff, doesn't it?
It's been a huge change, yes. And of course, I'm one of the new ones, so, I mean,
How did they find you?
well, actually, I super lucked out with that one, because that experimental course, right, from 2009 onward, we had like a summer course that we taught as just a summer teacher. While I had my own company, I'd be coming in and doing like a video game coding project.
Sounds like fun, yeah.
It's a fun summer thing to do,
Right,
when
yeah.
things are,
And the kids are so smart and
yeah,
engaged
it's such a
and
fun
everything,
experience, because that was my first real thing into teaching as well. Like, the idea of, well, maybe I'm not going to be working with corporate. I'm going to be working with,
Well, you understand
slightly
the
more
market
demanding
better, don't
clientele.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You understand the market
Mm-hmm.
with these young people, yeah.
Mm. Not sure I follow, but okay.
Okay, anyway, all right, so you're doing it on a summer basis,
Mhm.
and then somewhere along the line, you make a deal.
Well, yeah, so what happened is, it wasn't even really a deal. It's just I mean, Tim kind of saw the opportunity. So Tim Cottrell is our head of school. He saw the opportunity. He's building this a program up, the I department.
This is his initiative.
Yeah, the Iolani, it's the innovation department.
Mm-hmm.
And then he brought in some amazing talent. Like these guys, I mean, they're my heroes right now because they've got some amazing, I mean, the Alawai Cat project. Martin is one of our teachers down in the Fab Lab, and he's having his students make drones, which I want to do that, right? Like
yeah.
I want to
do that
I want to
too.
play hooky for my own class to go down and make his class sometimes.
You got
yeah.
space out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a great experience. And then what I think the students really took away from it is that it's, you know, they're in control of the learning now. Like it's, I mean, they were before, but now we have like this space and it says, okay, so, you know, we're working on the Alawai Cat, whether you're here or not. If you want to be part of it, it's a cool thing. Come on over.
There's
and
only one
hang
answer
out.
to that.
Yeah, it's like, sure, I'll do that.
So you structure the class. I mean, you know, education is so structured sometimes.
Yeah, it can
Like
be.
if you look around the country, it's always got all these requirements and standards and
Yup,
everything.
the testing and the exams.
You don't
I don't
you
miss
have
those.
that. You don't have that.
Hmm?
You don't have that.
Well, it's still a very
You have
academic
to make
school.
a course
Very-
outline.
Hmm?
You have to make lesson plans.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still map out my entire course. So actually, there's that saying that if you want someone to do a really good job with something, hire a lazy person. And I'm very lazy when it comes to office work, paperwork. So actually, when I mapped out the course, I have files needed for every day. I have the whole thing, and it's all online, all mapped out for them. So whenever the students come in, it's not like, you know, I have a prep hour and I have to make sure everything's ready and everything. It's just, okay, you know, click this button. You have your entire
You
lesson
expect
plan
them
right
to
there.
be ready. You expect them
Yeah.
to look online, look at the files.
Yep. And it's, I mean, my course is kind of unfair because it's video game design. So it's an easy one to emulate in that level where it's kind of all online. But it's not even like a prep time for them. They come in, there's a URL on the head of the board, they just type it in, gives them the files for the day, and then we're up and running.
You know, you say easy, but
Yeah.
for some kids, it's got to be easier than other kids.
Mhm.
This is an elective or a required?
Elective, yeah.
Elective. So you're going to get people who are interested to
Yes,
begin with.
yes.
But I bet, you know, some of them are more interested and less, and
Yeah.
some of them are more talented than
Mhm.
less. I mean, how do you deal with the disparity? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in a class of, I know this from experience because I was always at the wrong end of the curve.
Yeah.
But in a class full of kids, people learning computer stuff,
Mhm.
you're going to find the top guys are moving so fast that the bottom guys didn't know what hit
Yeah.
them. How do you deal with that?
Well, that's why I love the new model that they're doing at Sullivan Center, is because
Okay.
it's not, here's our curriculum day to day, and if we don't make this deadline, like if we don't get to, you know, this level, like if we don't get to rectangles today, then we're not going to finish in time by the end of the year. It's more, okay, here's the entire breadth of the course that we need to do. Up until this point, this is what we're aiming to do. Everything after that is extra. So it's not, so if I have
No
one
matter
student.
what happens, you finish.
Yeah, if I have one student who's like years ahead of everyone else, they just bang through the whole thing. They're done with, like, you know, they can finish the entire curriculum
Then they can play.
instantly, and then they can play. But their play is, if they have the drive to go through a whole semester of curriculum really quickly, their play is going to be, I'm going to take this curriculum and I'm going to go all the way. Like, I'm going to go college level with this. Or I mean, I have one student now who, I mean, he completes the courses, the curriculum immediately. He's coding on a much higher level. But his challenge now is, okay, you know, last 15 minutes of class every day, he's teaching himself Blender. So he has headphones, he has YouTube videos, Khan Academy, all that stuff, and then he's teaching himself to 3D model. So now he has 3D models and rendering onto the games that he's doing for my class. So when
course.
everyone else
Much
is
better
doing—
game.
Yeah, well, because say we're doing Angry Birds that day, right? So Angry Birds has a 2D
You do
image and
Angry
you fling—
Birds?
Yeah, you can do like make your own version of Angry Birds.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So like when everyone else is working on these flinging ones, right? He's over and he has that coded already. He goes over to Blender, makes a 3D model of those characters, renders it out, sends those 3D art assets, like the render, like a rendered pixel, like a thing of it.
Yeah.
Send it back into the Scratch program, and now he has this, you know, 3D rendered looking video game that looks amazing. Like, it's super cool.
So does he show the other kids how to do
And
that?
he shows the other kids how to
So
do it.
everybody learns by the
Yeah.
smart kid. Oh, that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
So it works good.
So what happens, you know, in the ideal? And you
Mhm.
talked about your heroes are right there with you in the
Mhm.
school and the faculty, but what about, you know, the kids who are really smart and who, you know, you were amazed at?
Mhm.
There's always kids like that.
Yeah.
What happens to them? What's the metric on finding success? I mean, do they go play at the science fair? Do they do
Mm-hmm.
that? Is there some organization they can, get involved with? Can they, become a child prodigy and work for Microsoft? What happens?
So of course, the great thing about Iolani is that it's super supportive community. So if one of these students has a project they want to do that's way above and beyond the scope, they'll have a support for it. Recently, we had a student from the fabrication lab. She worked with one of our teachers down there, and she did an independent
Oh,
study.
that's on the first floor of the Sullivan
First floor
Center.
with all the 3D
We're
printers
gonna
and
talk
laser
about that.
cutters
Yeah,
and
that's
everything else.
amazing,
Yeah. So she got to do an entire year independent study where she did social engineering as part of her thing. So she did a bunch of different projects with the help of Taylor Wong, who's one of our teachers down there, along with everyone else down in the first floor. And it was amazing. Like we went into a presentation at the end of the year, blown away. So.
Social engineering, can you
So-
define social engineering?
So for hers it was engineering for happiness. I mean, sorry if I forgot that one, by the way, but I think if I remember correctly, it was engineering for happiness. So what she did is she did, using the 3D printers and the laser cutters and the fabrication, all the design tools that we gave her, she found a way to make the campus a better place. So she went to the one project that she did was, we had a faculty lounge, which is, I mean, it's the same kind of faculty lounge you would find at anything. It's like a white room, there's a refrigerator, there's like some, chairs in the kind of old chairs there, and that was it, right? But it wasn't like the most friendly and happy environment. So what she did is she went in there and redesigned the whole thing. Like new couches, redesigned the tables on it, had artwork that she designed all over the wall that they did with the metal CNC or the water jet. So it cut out the metal out of that.
Oh,
It
she
had
actually created these things.
She created and built each of those things. She designed, planned, created, and built all those things. And then put it up, had a big display night, and all the teachers came in and like, wow, like they have like a VIP lounge now. And it was such a good like morale boost to everyone. So it's that same experience. And that was like step one, right? So from there, if we have students doing that every year, the ones who really want to go for it, they're going to be set. I have no worries for what they're going to
Yeah,
do.
no, I don't either.
Yeah.
But let's digress for a moment to Sullivan Center.
Yes.
Sullivan Center on the ground floor is that fabrication lab,
Yes,
which is
yes,
so
yes.
interesting. Who's the fellow who runs that again?
So it's Doc Inouye. He's he does the AP Physics.
I met him
Yeah,
several
he's
times.
an amazing
a great guy.
Yeah.
Great person to be in charge of that.
Mhm.
Okay, and other people help him because it's a big lab.
It's a big lab. Like pretty much, there's a whole
footprint of
the whole
building.
team down there.
Yeah.
So there's Gilson, Martin, Taylor, and Doc. And they're even more support to them. But they're running and they run the whole system down there. They do everything. They have like one of the most amazing robotics programs I've ever seen. Like it was, they do Robotics 1, Robotics 2, and then they have. It's the robotics, but it's not the one where you're just mapping it out. It has to interact with the world. It has to be sensing what's happening around it and then interact with
So
it.
it's more than just putting pieces together because
Yeah.
you actually fabricate the pieces with
Yeah.
all these fabrication machines. You manufacture stuff.
Yeah.
That's the difference between what I've seen anyway in the schools of Hawaii for robotics. Some schools, you buy the kit, you make the thing.
Yeah, and then for
and
intros,
that's
we use those
creativity
kits.
there.
Like that's some amazing
But it's
stuff.
a little different when you make the kit.
Yeah.
You know?
Higher up they go. So it's just, what it allows them to do is to take it as far as their drive wants them to take it. So if we have a kid who wants to do so right now, all the kids will, I think one of the robotics stores, they'll make drones in a group. So they have to design what the shape of the drone's gonna look like, where the placement of the rotors
Aeronautics.
and everything.
Oh,
So they're
yeah.
gonna make the drone that way, but that's if they wanna take it further and make it crazier and test it over and over and over again, they can come in anytime and work on it.
How do you grade a kid on a project like that?
Oh, man.
How do you grade a kid on the
Well,
games?
for mine, for the video,
Yeah.
I can't speak for the robotic stuff, of course. But for the video game, I base off a rubric. And I also they keep a daily blog, posting their internal thoughts, their reactions, their analysis of their own
You
process.
post it.
They
talk,
do.
They do.
They do. They tell me how they're doing, so that for whatever reason they're falling behind or something like that, we know immediately that there's an issue or there's a problem that they need to help
Well,
with.
it's subjective, though.
Very
It has to
subjective.
be subjective. And you look at their code, their work, the functionality.
Yeah.
And you have to measure them in your own mind against the other kids.
Well,
but-
the rubric helps them a lot. So the rubric, it's just one of many grading tools that you use, and you use whatever grading tool is most appropriate for the project at hand. for like a group project, right? I won't want to do a group project based off, all right, did you do 5,000 lines of code or not? I mean, just seeing. So here's the goal that you set for yourself. Did you? And how well did you document your process to completing it and that kind of stuff?
And you talked to them about this?
Yeah.
About the rubric and about the
As
result?
yeah, and what's really great about Iolani is because they keep the small class sizes, I
How
can
small
have
is
that
small?
super close, anywhere, like I've had classes with 8 to 16, so I can have a very close, intimate relationship talking with the projects with each student. So I know exactly, like when I come in, I know exactly where each student is, what coding things they're struggling on, and then, sometimes the easiest problem is, like, I'm not gonna grade them because they didn't get it the first time. I say, okay, so you two are gonna swap seats. You two both know this coding stuff. You two both know this coding stuff. So now you two just teach each other stuff and then, figure it out.
Then we'll take a look.
Get back to
right.
me at the end of the day and then tell me
that's
what
great,
happened.
That's great.
So.
There's other elements beside the coding involved in this
Yeah.
education. Okay, one more thing and
Yes.
we close, and that is Sullivan Center, Been there many times. I've taken a lot of footage at Sullivan Center. I've attended various conferences. I've made a lot of films there, actually. I'm very impressed. But where do you fit in that? I mean, you as, a guy who's teaching this course, but you as a science person trying to educate these kids. Where does Sullivan Center fit for you? What does it mean?
So for me, for one, it's a beacon for the students. So if any of my students want to make a video game, they know where to find me. They know,
You're there. You're in Sullivan
I'm
Center.
in Sullivan Center. I have, what's great is not only students, but teachers too. Like we have teachers from, history, science. We had a French class too. And they're like, oh, I want to, instead of a pop quiz today, I want them to make a video game. I have no idea how. Hey, Gabe, I want you to make a video game with my kids. Let's go do it. And then just, right there, like no red tape, no like, do we have the software or anything like, do we have the budget or anything? Just right away, bam, go. Next week, we have a curriculum for them. They're doing a video game. Like we got to do the video game with the French class. So we came in with the laptop. The French class got to do it. We did one in English class where they're reading Ender's Game. And they wanted to do a Minecraft because last year one kid made like this huge, he made it one of the chapters.
So it affects everything.
Yeah.
It affects our whole education as affects our whole society.
Yeah, and then, so this is like the different philosophies with where education is going.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing first step, and I cannot wait to see what keeps going.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, Gabriel.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming down. Really appreciate the discussion. It's a joy to meet you. I know more about, Sullivan Center now. I know more about Iolani now.
Yeah.
I'm more impressed still. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Come
for
down
having
again.
me.
We're going to talk to you again. You can't run. You don't hide. We
Yes,
follow
yes,
you. Aloha.
All right, thank you.